The Denver Nuggets this season are starting very slow. I mean, they're 2 games above 500. Or maybe, is it 1 game? The Nuggets last night, though, they lost against the Clippers. And I did not like that loss at all. That was one of the worst losses I've seen in a long time. The Nuggets in the first half held the Clippers to a season low in the first half. 28 points. They decided to do nothing with that lead, and they lost the game. Not only that, when it was crunch time, Mike Malone decided to not call a timeout when Jokic had to put up a 30-foot three-point shot to try and even just attempt to win the game. So, today I will talk about why the Nuggets are so bad this season and why they have no bright spots until some people come back from IR. Let's get straight into it. First of all, let's talk about the Denver Nuggets three-point shooting. I think it's pretty apparent and obvious that they are not a good three-point shooting team. This is something that they've been dealing with for years now. 34% from 3 is not good when you're a wannabe contender, you know. The Denver Nuggets also take some of the most three-pointers in the league. So when you're shooting 34% from 3 while you have a system built around a dominant post player, that is not going to help out anything, and it makes the job a lot harder on Nikola Jokic, let alone the Denver Nuggets, to win games. So that's just the obvious thing. I mean, on catch and shoot threes, they're shooting about 35%, so I guess that's respectable. Catch and shoot threes should be a lot easier than just the pull-up threes, but it seems like the Nuggets are just reluctant to that too. 30% from 3 on pull-up threes while attempting the most three-point pull-ups in the NBA. Why are you taking such high volumes of shots if you're not even good at them? This is a team that is shooting worse from 3 than the LA Lakers, a backcourt of fucking Avery Bradley and Russell Westbrook. This is just ugly. Okay, but now that we've talked about one very general statement, let's talk about the players that they have themselves. The Nuggets have a good amount of players, and a lot of people think that they're a somewhat deep team, but they are far from deep. And I'll tell you why that is. So first, let's talk about the entry passing. Nikola Jokic, the most dominant scoring position and even playmaking position he can be in, can't get the ball in the post because his 2 best entry passers are out with injuries, that being Will Barton and Jamal Murray. So these entry passes suck. So let's look at the first clip with Aaron Gordon trying to attempt an entry pass. It was just a lazy entry pass in itself. Okay, we don't got to spend much time on this clip. Okay, then for the next clip, Monte Morris is working on the top in a pick and roll with Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic successfully slips by his defender with a lane to the basket or a lane to the basket to then pass to an open three-point shooter in the corner, and Monte Morris butchers the pass, ending in a turnover. Before I tell you how this turnover happened, let's just talk about the Clippers sealing off Jokic last night. They did a great job at it. Nicholas Batum, even though he did have 5 fouls, was one of the culprits of sealing off Nikola Jokic and making sure he couldn't get to his spots. That's why Jokic only had 21 points. But right here in this clip, Amir Coffey seals off the pass, makes sure that it cannot get through. And if Monte Morris wants to do a kind of lob thing to where Jokic just have to go jump and get it, Eric Bledsoe, which is a somewhat athletic guard, is right behind him to poke it out the back of his hands. So he doesn't get it. Then he gives it to Jeff Green. Then Jeff Green, another lazy pass, puts it right in between Nikola Jokic's leg, nutmegging his own teammate. Another Denver Nuggets turnover. Simply enough, this is not things that we saw with the Nuggets offense when it had Jamal Murray. You know, obviously we can just talk about, all the IR things that the Nuggets need. You know, they need people back from injury like Will Barton, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. But it's simple things like that, those small entry passes that can make a huge difference in a game. Not only does it make a huge difference for the Nuggets, but it makes a huge difference when your player is the best in the post. And in general, this Nuggets roster just isn't built to compete right now. I mean, they are built to compete when they are at full strength, I'll tell you that much. But right now they aren't. I mean, they have no dribble penetrators besides Jokic right now. Is Monte Morris one? No. Is Campazzo one? No. Campazzo shoots like 40% in the restricted area mark, which is nasty, which is horrible, which is terrible. There are no other dribble penetrators to let Nikola Jokic take off possessions. Jokic always has to be the center point of this offense, and the only time that the bench plays well is if they're hitting three-pointers. When Nikola Jokic goes to the bench, and the bench actually does play well, it's just because they're shooting high from 3. It's not because they're doing the simple things right, like getting to the cup, maybe drawing a foul, or just hitting a layup in general, getting higher percentage shots. It's just that they're getting high from 3. And that in itself is unreliable. Because when you do have a bench like the Phoenix Suns, or when you have one like the Utah Jazz, who have a mix of scorers and dribble penetrators, then it makes it a lot easier on the stars to come out and just do the job that they always are doing, which is closing out games. Nikola Jokic doesn't have to close out games because he has to play the whole game if his team wants to win. And when Michael Malone only plays him 32 minutes in a game which is tightly contested most of the game, we get a loss. On top of no dribble penetrators, there are no point of attack defenders. Facu Campazzo, a solid defender, I guess, but all he really does is just run around on the perimeter trying to get deflections. He's not a point of attack defender. Neither is Austin Rivers, I'll tell you that much. Neither is Monte Morris. Neither is JaMychal Green. No point of attack defenders. We have no good bench players. Trust me, the only time in which our bench has been good this season is when they have a shooting streak. And frankly enough, anybody can get a fucking shooting streak. Zeke Naji had 22 fucking points one game. He is not like that. Is this hard to understand? And in general, this bench and team is not built to win right now. There's no initiators or facilitators out of Nikola Jokic. How do you expect a team to play well when they don't have another initiator? Just think of this. Just think of the Suns if they had Chris Paul, but no DeAndre Ayton, no Devin Booker. It's literally Chris Paul having to do all the work when it comes to pressuring the basket. No Mikal Bridges. It would take so much for you to take off their team to make their team weak to the point that it is right now. We are just seeing Nikola Jokic playing so well and at an all-time great level to where he can make this team above 500. Because frankly enough, they're not competitive. They're not a competitive team. When Jokic is on the floor, the team is really good, a +6. When he's off the floor, the Nuggets are a -14, which is the worst in the league. Yes, that includes the fucking Pistons and the Thunder. But besides all that, 7-14 against teams that are above 500. That is a nasty record. Whatever way you want to put it. I know we do not have Jamal Murray and we do not have Michael Porter Jr. We do not have Will Barton right now. But in itself is that if you have a bench unit that is looking to compete, you need to have good bench players. We once had Jeremy Grant coming off the bench. And now we have fucking Austin Rivers coming off the bench. And sometimes even starting. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully I helped you understand why the Nuggets are so bad this season and why the weight shouldn't be put on Jokic's shoulders for their losses. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, do all that, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.
Hey, come on, I got a bag on me. You try to take it, leave you stinking like your last homie. She kinda cakey, little baby, put that ass on me. But I ain't that horny, do you got some cash for me? Why every time you ask him that, bitches act funny. And you keep trying to hold the strap, you won't slap for me. You too happy, I can tell you never had money. Every time you get on live, gotta flash money.